Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Story of Sam and welcome back to a brand new NBA video, and today I'm going to be ranking every single team in the NBA going into the next 2021 NBA season. Keep in mind, these are going to be strictly this season's rankings, not like how good the franchise is historically, just how they're going to be going into this next season, strictly this year, nothing else. I'm going to be ranking all 30 of these teams in a tier list, ranking from title contenders, of course, like the upper echelon teams, the teams that are definitely like going to be in the mix, great teams, teams that are really good playoff teams, but I'm not sure if they can get over the hump, average teams, teams that are like borderline playoff teams, like 7-8 seeds. They're probably going to get bounced in the first round, but who knows, they could make a nice run. Not good teams, probably like consistent 10th seeds, 11th seeds. Not going to get like a super amazing pick, but a team in the not good category probably won't make the playoffs. But even if they did sneak into an A spot, they would probably be swept in the first round. And then lastly, we have the trash teams, of course, the bottom feeders of the league, the 14th, the 15th seeds, getting high lottery picks every year, and they still manage to win like less than 20 games. Those teams are going to be going in the trash category. If you guys are brand new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. And also guys, make sure to drop a like on today's video. It would help the video out a ton and just help the channel grow as a whole. Without further ado, let's get straight into ranking the 30 NBA teams. So I'm going to go straight in order from left to right. I'm not going to like pick out categories to put stuff in. I'm going to go straight from left to right. So for the first team, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. And the Philadelphia 76ers are definitely a very interesting team. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, new coach. I don't see them being title contenders just yet, but I still think a team in the great category could make a push deep in the playoffs, could potentially win a championship if they play a good stretch of basketball. So I do think the 76ers are a great team right now according to this tier list. So I definitely think the Philadelphia 76ers fit right in with this great pile right here. And now for the Washington Wizards, another really tough team to predict. Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal. Can they make it work? I'm not really sure. I'm just going to say they're an average team right here. I think they will make the playoffs 100%. I assume they're going to be like an 8th or 7th seed. I'm not really sure. But Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal got to be in the playoffs, especially in the East. So I'm going to say they're an average team for now. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Now this team added a lot of new players. Gallinari, Rondo, another improvement year of Trae Young, John Collins, Clint Capella. It could be a very good team, but I don't see them being like a great team like the Sixers level. I do think they will make like an 8 seed or like a 7 seed. So I'm going to put them right here in the average pile with the Washington Wizards. Of course, they could be really, really good. Like maybe at the max, like a 6 seed, but I envision them as the 8 seed. And like the Wizards, it's probably like the 7 seed, but I'm not really sure. Trae Young, again, one of the best young point guards in the league, could definitely improve a lot this year. And yeah, overall, the Hawks are definitely trending in the right direction and definitely better than a not good or trash team at the moment. Moving on to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now this team has been in shambles since LeBron's left both times, to be honest. Now I'm going to put Cleveland right now in the trash pile. I think they're going to be like a 12 to 15 seed, getting a very high draft pick. They don't really have much upside. Colin Sexton, Darius Garland are nice. Kevin Love's getting old. They have Andre Drummond, but how useful is Drummond in a modern offense? I'm not really too sure. I definitely think the Cavaliers are a trash team and the first one on this list. They're definitely not going to make a run for a playoff spot and should probably just tank until they get another great prospect. Moving on to the next team, the Detroit Pistons. Now, I think they are a tiny bit better than the Cleveland Cavaliers. I still think the Pistons are a trash team. I'm going to put them right next to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I do want to say that the order of the teams in the actual category does not affect how I rank them. Like, even though the Cavaliers are higher on the trash pile than the Pistons, that means nothing. It's literally all the same category. None of the teams, like orders in the categories, actually matter. Just what category the team is in has a significance. The Pistons did sign Jeremy Grant, but still, I don't think the Pistons are going to make any noise this year. In my opinion, they have held on to Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose way too long. They should have been traded a long time ago for young assets and start rebuilding completely. The Pistons are a complete mess and hopefully they can figure it out soon, but as of right now, the Pistons are definitely a trash team. And moving on to the Los Angeles Lakers, definitely, of course, title contenders. Of course, the reigning champions have to be title contenders. They added a lot of great players this offseason. I think the Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell pick and roll is going to be very deadly. Wesley Matthews and Marc Gasol also provide floor spacing to help out LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And overall, the Lakers got a lot better in the offseason and 100% deserve to be a title contender. Moving on to this next team, we have the Indiana Pacers. Now, the Pacers are really interesting. They don't really have like a clear direction of where they want to go. They have Victor Oladipo, Brogdon, but Victor Oladipo really hasn't been the same player since his injury. He was really good in the 2018 postseason, but still, the Pacers seem to put together a pretty good regular season record with Sabonis and stuff, so I'm going to put them in the average pile pile right here. They definitely could be like a 5 or 6 seed, but they could also be like a 9 and 10 seed and try to like tank this season. I'm not really sure, but as of now, I would say that the Indiana Pacers are an average team. The Pacers did have an all-star last year in Domantas Sabonis, but of course, they aren't going to make any noise in the playoffs. They were swept in the first round by Miami, and overall, I believe the Pacers are an average team. Moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks, of course, they are a title contender, the back-to-back MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. With Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, Chris Middleton, the addition of Drew Holiday, I think it's a really good pickup. The Bucks are 100% a title contender. Moving on to Toronto, I don't think they're going to be that great this year as they were last year. They lost Serge Ibaka, they lost Marc Gasol. I think those are pretty big losses. I'm going to put them in the average pile. They're going to make a playoff spot, but I think they're going to be like a 6 seed or 5 seed. I'm not really sure, but they definitely aren't as good as Philly, but they're definitely not as bad as a team like Cleveland or Detroit. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, I think the Mavericks are going to be a great team. Luka Doncic, of course, going into his third NBA season, one of the best young players in the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis, one of the best centers, if he can stay healthy, but of course, health is a major concern for Kristaps. But overall, I couldn't really see the Mavericks being a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. Either way, they're going to be really close to all those top seeds in the West, and they could definitely make a deep playoff run. I think the farthest they could get is the Western Conference Finals, so I definitely don't think they're going to be in the finals this year, but of course, the future is looking bright for the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Moving on to the Denver Nuggets, I think that the Denver Nuggets are in the same boat as the Dallas Mavericks. The Denver Nuggets obviously came back from the 3-1 lead against the Clippers, made it to the Western Conference Finals. Jamal Murray was absolutely insane in the bubble. Nikola Jokic, one of the best centers in the NBA, one of the best passing big men of all time, and overall, the Nuggets are definitely one of the best teams. They're really young still. In a couple of years, this team could be a title contender, but as of now, I think they're a little bit too young, and it all depends on the improvement and development of Michael Porter Jr. Moving on to the Houston Rockets, this is probably the most challenging team to rank. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with James Harden. Will they trade him? Will they keep him? I'm not really sure, but I'm going to go with average just because I'm not sure how the James Harden will work out. If James Harden gets traded for like young assets, they're probably going to be a not good team, but if he stays, they'll probably be in the great category with Philly, Dallas, and Denver. But as of now, Houston Rockets, an average team. Of course, it's really impossible to rank them. John Wall, off an injury. DeMarcus Cousins, off an injury. Christian Wood, will he be putting up the same stats he was at the end of last season? And of course, James Harden, I just have no idea, so it's almost impossible to rank, but I'm going to put them in average right there. Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks, they have a great young core over there in Memphis. They're definitely not a great team yet, but I do think they are an average team. They did almost make the playoffs last year. They were in the 8th seed for a very long time, but once the bubble came around, they really didn't put up a good performance at all. But I do think this year they are a borderline playoff team. They could make the playoffs. I don't really think they will. Of course, Ja Morant, Jaren, they are a great young duo, but right now they're definitely not in that great category, but I wouldn't put them down to like a not good category or a trash. They're definitely average for me. Next team, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Of course, they have Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. They haven't really proved anything yet, but I do think they're a step above from Cleveland and Detroit, so I'm going to put them in the not good category, our first team in that category. Of course, they are a big wild card. Will they make the playoffs? I don't really think so. I don't really think they're going to make the playoffs. Of course, Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the best shooting centers of all time. D'Angelo Russell, a great scoring point guard, but I don't think it's going to be enough in the Western Conference to make a playoff spot. Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs, they are in a similar position, but they are very old. They are a pretty old team. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, they don't really play the modern style of basketball. They shoot a lot of mid-range shots, not a lot of three-point shots. The Spurs missed the playoffs for the first time in a very long time. I do think they will miss the playoffs once again, but they're definitely not a trash team. They're not a Cleveland, they're not a Detroit. They're a little bit better than that, so I would put them in the same category with Minnesota. Next, we have the Utah Jazz. This is a very hard pick. Of course, they got eliminated in the first round, but they were up 3-1. I think they are a step above from the average teams, though, so I will put them in the great pile right here. I will say, though, they are borderline great. I wouldn't say they are as great as Denver, but Utah is still a really good team. They have Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert on that really big max contract, but I definitely don't see them making it over the hump. I cannot see this team winning a championship in the next couple of seasons, but I do think Donovan Mitchell is one of the best guards in the league, and Rudy Gobert is, of course, one of the best defenders in the NBA. Now, moving on to Golden State, of course, they have Steph Curry. They have no Klay Thompson this year. KD is left. I think they are a little bit better than the not good category. I think they might contend for a playoff spot. I'm not really sure, but they're going to go in the average pile right here next to Memphis. I think they're a little bit worse than Memphis, but of course, if the team has Stephen Curry, they're going to be above the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Spurs, and I think they could make a push for a playoff spot. Will they do it? probably maybe like an A seed, but of course, if Golden State does not make the playoffs, I would not be surprised at all. Next, we have the Los Angeles Clippers, and definitely, in my opinion, they are a title contender. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are one of the best duos in the NBA. They did blow a 3-1 lead to Denver last year, but still, they have a new coach. Serge Ibaka was added. I think Serge was a great addition, and overall, the Clippers are going to be really hungry this season. I just think there's just no way they don't make it to the conference finals, so I'm definitely going to say the Clippers are title contenders. I would say they are on the same level as the Bucks and the Lakers right now, as they are all title contenders. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns, of course, they lost Kelly Oubre. They got Chris Paul. I think the Suns will make the playoffs, but I don't think it's going to be a high seed, maybe a 6 or 7 seed. They're definitely not a great team. They're better than a not good team, so of course they are an average team right here. Devin Booker is one of the best guards in the NBA, one of the best scoring guards. Of course, he had a 70-point game. Him, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, a really good trio there in Phoenix. They could definitely have a really good season and shock a lot of people, but even if they had a really good season, I don't see them being on this tier with the great teams, and I don't see them being this low with the not good teams. So of course, I'm going to put them in the average pile right there. Now moving on to Portland, they barely got into an A seed last year, but Portland had a lot of injuries. I don't think Portland is the greatest team in the world. I don't think they're amazing. They did make the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago. I think Robert Covington was a really good pickup, but of course, they barely even made the playoffs last year. Even with injuries, they had to fight in the bubble to get in. So I'm going to put them in the average pile right there. Now they are probably the best team in this whole average pile. They are really close to being a great team in my opinion, but they haven't shown enough yet in my opinion with this squad that they can make it to this level right here. Like this level, the great level, I think those teams have an off chance at winning a championship, excluding probably like the Jazz, but still, I think these three teams, if the circumstances were right, the Sixers, the Mavericks, and the Nuggets, I think those three teams could win a championship, excluding the Jazz, but still, I don't think Portland is on that tier with those teams. But of course, they could easily make a jump this year and surprise me and sneak into this great tier right here. Next, we have the Sacramento Kings. Of course, their star is De'Aaron Fox, Marvin Bagley. Buddy Hield is another great player. I don't think they're good enough to be in the average category. They're definitely better than the trash. I think they fit perfectly right here in the not good pile with the Spurs and the Timberwolves. Not a lot of hope for the Kings. It's not like they're going to make a playoff run. I don't really see them sneaking into a spot. They're probably going to get a high lottery pick. And overall, I just think that the Kings are definitely a more rebuilding team right now. Next team, we have the Knicks, of course. Definitely a trash team. Probably the worst team in the league, or the worst franchise in the league as far as their future right now. They really only have RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin. The Knicks are definitely a trash team. You can't even argue. Of course, they are definitely going to be put in the trash pile. Next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. Another really tough team to really evaluate. Zion Williamson going into a second year. Lonzo Ball making improvements. New coach Stan Van Gundy. I do think they are better than like the Kings and the Spurs. I'm going to put them in the average pile right here. I think a lot of these teams fall into the average pile. They are a team that's probably going to make the playoffs and probably going to get bounced out in the first round. Not going to go deep in the playoffs, but still not a bad team at all, but not a great one either. Next on the list, we have the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I'm debating putting them in not good or trash. Now, I'm just going to say they're going to be trash just because Gordon Hayward did sign, LaMelo is there, but even with those players, they haven't proven to me that they can be a team in the not good category. I still think that the Timberwolves, Spurs, and Kings are going to be better teams than the Hornets, but still they are really close to not good in my opinion. Gordon Hayward could definitely have a great season, but as of now, him and LaMelo Ball are not enough to get them out of the trash pile. Next, we have the Miami Heat. Now, they just made it to the NBA Finals, but I'm going to put them in the great pile next to the Jazz. I think they are better than the Jazz. I think they are one of the best teams in the great pile. I don't think they are a main title contender like with these teams, just because the East is a lot tougher. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, I don't think it is enough to win a championship right now, but under the right circumstances, they might be able to sneak in and win a championship. But I definitely don't think it's going to be this year. Maybe in a couple years when Bam Adebayo has developed more. They get a couple more pieces. Tyler Hero gets a little bit better. But right now, I still think the Heat are a great team. Don't get me wrong. And they could make a deep playoff run. But I do not think they are on the Lakers, Bucks, Clippers level just yet. Moving on to the Chicago Bulls. I think they have a promising core. Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, Kobe White. I think they are pretty good. Patrick Williams has looked pretty good from what I've seen. I'm going to put them in the not good category. They are a step above the trash. I think they are on this level of teams. The Kings, Spurs, and Timberwolves. I think they're right there with those teams. Of course, Chicago, Zach LaVine, really good player, averages like 25 points a game. One of the best pure scorers in the NBA. Next, we have the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, KD, Kyrie. They have looked really great so far. I'm going to put them in the title contenders along with the other 3 teams. They have looked really good in their couple of games that they have played. Of course, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and of course they have other pieces like Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. Those guys are also really great, and if they did end up landing James Harden, I think that would be even better, but as of now, with their team right now, they're definitely a title contender. Moving on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last year they made a really impressive run, but this year they got Shea and pretty much no one else, to be honest. They're going to be in tank mode. I'm going to say trash right there. Pretty obvious. They traded away all their players for picks. So many first-round picks. Sam Presti just went crazy, acquiring all the first-round picks in the world. And I definitely think they're going to be a trash team next year, trying to get the best draft picks they possibly can. Next, we have the Boston Celtics, a team that seems to get eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals pretty much every single season. I'm going to put them, along with the Miami Heat, in the great category. I think they could win a championship this year, but of course, all these teams I think could win a championship besides the Jazz on certain circumstances, but I definitely think the teams above them are the main contenders. The Celtics lost to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but still, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward will be a big loss, but still, Tatum, Brown, Kemba, Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice, players like that, they're still going to be competitive in the East. Very competitive. I say a 2 to 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Definitely a great team. And lastly, we have the Orlando Magic, a team that seems to be in like the 7th or 8th seed every single season. I do not think they will make the playoffs this season. I think they're going to tank a little bit more. Of course, they have Aaron Gordon, Nikola Vucevic. They can play some shocking good games, but I would still say they are not a good team. They're one level above the trash, but still not an average team in my opinion. They are below average, and I will think they will be disappointing this season. The Magic are not a good team in my opinion. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video on me ranking every single NBA team right now based on how close I think they are to winning a championship this season. If you guys did like it, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. And of course, make sure to drop a like on today's video. It would help out a lot. And if you guys do want to watch more of my NBA videos, I'm going to leave an end screen right when this video finishes to 2 of my previous NBA videos that I think you guys would really enjoy. So have a great rest of your day, guys. It's been Story of Sam, and I'm out. Peace.